everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm on location today. Took the day off, really needed it for my own sanity, and I'm at one of my favorite places. If you can hear the waves in the background, that's not a YouTube video this time. That is actually a lake near where I live. And I mentioned to you guys that I really like a retreat center, and that's where I am right now. It's a women's retreat center, and it's right on the lake. I wanted to come up here on the 4th of July, but they have a limited number of people that they can allow right now with the pandemic, so it was sold out, and today was actually the first day, so I just said I'm going to play hooky from my responsibilities and go to my happy place. And I've brought my journal and getting some things in my planner together, and of course I brought the book. This is what our channel is all about. It's Sarah Breathnach's book, Simple Abundance. And I just wanted to give a prelude to this new section of the book that we're going into now in July 2020. It's about cooking and food, and in yesterday's entry, July 25th, and today's entry, July 5th and July 6th, yesterday and today. I guess I skipped ahead a couple weeks there. She's introducing us to the kitchen. Again, we did go in the room itself, but this is as far as looking at cookbooks and thinking about the ways that food can soothe us and bring us joy and bring up memories and things. Today I'm not going to go into the big details of my next video. Will be about the various categories of food that she calls them. This is just going to be an introduction today to the thought of cooking for pleasure. And even like in yesterday's entry, July 25th, Sarah shares that she loves cookbooks, but she doesn't even really cook everything from them. She actually just likes to read them and then make little notes like, this sounds good. And so she loves the eloquence of that. In fact, she says she tried to write about food at one point, but it really wasn't like her forte. And she had a relationship in a way, had never met the author of a bunch of her favorite cookbooks. The name was Lori Coleman. She passed on in 1992, and Sarah shared how sad that was for her. Even though she didn't know Lori personally, she felt like she did, because she had just become so comfortable with Lori's writing, and then she had made a lot of her special recipes. They just sort of became like her go-to things. Like she mentions the gingerbread. Remember she told us back, I think it was in January, to bake some gingerbread. So there's some staples in Sarah's baking and cooking that really came from Lori's writing. And I was thinking, not related to cookbooks, but I definitely felt a connection with certain writers and teachers that have written things. So like I've mentioned Dr. Wayne Dyer. Like when he passed away, I was so sad. I really felt like I had a relationship with him through his writing and his teachings, and I felt like he was speaking to me personally. It's not unlike Mr. Rogers too, you know, he was so special to me. So sometimes when these people die that you've never even met, but they've become such a part of your existence because you're living by their philosophy, or you have memories of connecting with them during times when you were down or needed guidance, or I don't know, just thinking they were there for you even though they didn't really know you. But she does even say, and we could say this about Sarah too in some of her writings, she says, let's see, where is that part? This occurs when the reader's grateful heart recognizes realizes to her astonishment that the writer knows her in a way that even her family and close friends do not. So I can relate to that, not with cookbooks, because I'm not really, I have a few cookbooks, but I don't read them for pleasure like Sarah outlines. But I think if we find out that Sarah's passed on, I think I will be very devastated, because I do feel like she knows me, and I feel like we're soul sisters just from a lot of the things that she shares. Oh, here comes the steamboat. Sometimes it plays songs too, you might hear it. It always beeps at the retreat center. Sometimes people wave at you too. This is definitely my happy place, and I really feel so much better here. I've written a lot. I feel like when I can get to a place where I can just go and just start writing down in my journal, like I told you, that's my sort of therapy, where I'm working things out that I need to think about and figure out how I feel. See if anybody's gonna wave at me, because I'll wave at them. I wish they'd play a little song so you could hear it. Wonder if you can hear the steam coming out. It's got a big wheel, you know, in the back, like a Mark Twain sort of boat that you think of. It's neat. Anyway, so I'm glad to be here. It's a huge improvement from the last time I spoke to you guys. And I did do a lot in between then and now as well, even besides today. Some of the things that I did to sort of reach to a better place, where I did go and write in my journal, my little fun journal like I mentioned, and I made a list of the things that I want to believe and I want to have hope in right now. And I revisited some things that I had written in the past. Remember I shared with you guys, I think it was in February, about the collection of stories that I was putting together whenever somebody would tell me something amazing that had worked out for them. So I mentioned to you that maybe I might need to move, and there's a lot of feelings about that right now, because I'm happy where I am, but I'm realistically thinking I probably should move, and I'm not ready to let go yet, even though I know I might need to, so I don't have a great feeling about that. But I know, and I shared with you guys in the past, that there have been other times that I needed to move and I was worried about how it was all going to work out, and then just the perfect place fell in my lap. So I needed to be reminded about that specific worry that I have. And so I did go do some introspection, and I let myself sleep, and I let myself cry, and I reached out to some friends, and I'm just giving myself the freedom to just work through things. And I appreciate all your comments whenever I post something that's really real and raw. I wonder how it's going to be received, but then you guys are so great, and often you're going through the same thing. So I think Sarah had her ups and downs as well, so that's why I feel an affinity with her, and so I can appreciate what she's saying here about the cookbook author. What about you guys? Do you have cookbooks, and are you into reading them? I like to look at the pictures of food for sure. I told you that's sort of my qualifier for a good cookbook, is the pictures. I like to see what it's gonna look like. So I can picture myself looking through the cookbooks for ideas if they can have the pictures for me to see. And then in today's entry, July 6th, it's called Homegrown Bliss, the Romance of Kitchen Gardens. We talked in one of the garden entries about victory gardens, and that's pretty similar to this kitchen garden that she describes. But she's talking about the joy of planting your own crops and then eating them. Definitely is good when you can eat something fresh from the garden, right? I don't have a garden that has food in it right now, but you can pick those things up at farmers markets as well. So remember she told us about that potager that her and her daughter tried to make and it didn't come out perfectly? She uses that word again, which it says a kitchen garden or potager. So the potager must be like a kitchen garden sort of things. She says it's been the cornerstone of country life for centuries. So she's setting us up for the next few entries, because think about the fact that the summer is really when we have a lot of food that's coming up in the garden, right? And in the fall we have the harvest. And so I'll just give you a little teaser. One of the types of foods, because there's a few categories, like I said, one of them is seasonal fare. So definitely eating with the seasons would be something to take advantage of if you have a kitchen garden, as she calls it. That's really all I have to say about these last two entries. I just wanted to have a segue from the home entries. Sorry, I hope I'm not making you dizzy. I'm in a rocking chair. I just wanted to have a segue from the section about the home and the pursuit of happiness to now segueing into all the food. And I think what I'm gonna do, instead of doing like a separate video like I did for each of the senses, I'm just gonna do one big video on, I think there's 4 different kinds. She may have added a new one, but I was looking back in my old journal from the first time in the most recent years that I was going through this with my Simple Abundance ladies, and I have 4 different categories, so that's my memory of it. So I'll be reading through these updated versions and we'll have a chat about those kinds of food. Oh, it's a helicopter. I thought it was a jet ski because there's been a lot of people on jet skis. Where I'm at, they have people parasailing, which is pretty neat. Someday I'll do that. I've never done that before. I don't even sit in the sun. I've had some precancerous things removed on my skin and elsewhere, so I'm fairly vigilant about being in the sun. I will go and sit in the sun for a minute, but I sit on, this is my favorite spot right here. I'm on the upper level of one of the buildings, and I'm actually the only one that's even around here, even in this building. There's a couple buildings on the grounds here. So I'm feeling like I have it all to myself. And I just love the sound of the waves coming in on the shore, watching the boats and the parasailers. I hope you have a happy place that you can go to. I hate that this one is so restricted this year. Like, I used to be able to just come up whenever I wanted, but I understand that they have to have a limit now on people coming here. So anyway, just my ramblings today here on the lake. I hope you're having a beautiful day wherever you are. Thanks for watching as always, and next time I see you, we'll have a fun entry about the different kinds of food. So tune in for that. Alright.